Hey guys, welcome to the Rebel Workshop. Today's video, I got a hollow message from a certain Rebel Princess. She bought herself a new blaster online, it turned up, and it came the wrong colour. You know what happens, you buy something, and it isn't actually what it's described as. So, she got in touch, as I said, asked me to repaint it for her, and I was more than happy to. So, let's do this. So this is what I'm starting with. It is a Rubies replica of Princess Leia's Defender Sporting Blaster pistol. That's the actual official name of it. As you can see, it is a very costume friendly replica. It's made of plastic, it's all glued together, there's no moving parts, there is no barrel. So as I said, this is Ruby's version of the blaster. They actually based it on the Master Replica's version, which I'm led to believe isn't 100% accurate. I think the spiral twisted bit on the barrel isn't quite right. But for what it is, I'm quite happy with it. It's lightweight, there's no visible screw holes, and it only cost me $12.95 plus postage. So it was pretty cheap. I'll put a link to the website in the description, but at this very moment they're actually sold out of them. So there's a few things I need to sort out. There are some of the gap seam lines, the mould lines that need fixing. As I said, there's no visible screw holes. These two screw holes, 4 of them should be there anyway because for the grip, so they don't need to fill them in. Some of the seam lines might be a wee bit harder to do, but these bits should be easy enough to do with just a bit of filler. So originally I wasn't going to fill in the seam lines, but I thought I'd go that extra mile just to make it look a wee bit better. And as I said, some of the bits are a wee bit harder to do, so like these bits on the barrel, they're going to be a pain to fill in, so I'm not going to bother doing that, but the rest of it will be good to go. Now it does have some copyright writing on it which need to be sanded away. Again, that'll be easy enough to do with a bit of sandpaper, and since I'm filling all these bits in anyway, it should cover any defects. Oh, there's a bit on the back as well. So once I've filled in the seams, sanded them down so it's all smooth, it'll just be a case of painting it matte black. Then some of the bits should be gloss black. But I'll get onto that later on. So the first thing I need to do is to get rid of the text that's on the gun. It's kind of hard to see it on here, but you can almost see it. Yeah, almost. To get rid of it, I'm just going to sand it off with different grit sandpapers. I'm actually going to try something. It might sound a bit strange, but I'm going to use a nail file. Now this is a quite a high grit one, this is a 241. Sounds silly, but it works brilliantly, getting around on the edges and things like that. Yeah. And that's it gone. Simple. Now I'm just going to come in with a higher grit. This is 240 wet and dry, just to smooth it out. Sorry, my bad. It's 400, not 240. And the text is gone. Now what we'll do is just go over the rest of the gun as well quickly with the 400 grit, just give it a bit of a texture for the paint to grip onto when I start painting it. Yeah. To fill in the seam lines, I'm just going to use some putty. It is just normal plain car putty for doing car exteriors. I have a love-hate relationship with putty. Oh well, I hate it, to be honest with you. I've had old cars in the past where I've had to fix rust points and I never like how it finishes. So this is going to be an experience, but I'm going to give it a try, see how it's like, and hopefully it'll work out. So I've put on some gloves because this can get messy. I've squeezed out some of the putty onto a plastic lid. I've got the scraper all ready. Yee, horrible. Kitchen roll. And I'm going to start putting it on. I will probably use my fingers for some parts as well, but let's see how we do. So that's all the seams filled in. I didn't realise when I was filming that I actually wasn't getting any up close pictures of it, video of it, unfortunately. But as you can see, yeah, I just leave it to dry properly. It says like half an hour or so. Then I will sand it smooth and see if it needs any touch-ups. So after a few hours of filling and sanding, then filling and sanding again, the seams seem to be filled in. It looks pretty good to the eye, but with these things you won't really tell until you've sprayed it with primer, then you'll be able to see any low spots that need filling in again. To be honest with you, if there are any low spots, I'm not too bothered. I'm not going for a perfection finish on this. It's going to be used and worn looking. Some of the spots of the plastic have went down quite a wee bit. Just imperfections in the plastic, I suppose. But I haven't done all of the seams, as I was saying. I have done these bits. I think I would get more annoyed at myself for doing these than enjoyment, and I'd rather not get annoyed at something like this. So I've left them. Again, once these are painted, it shouldn't look too bad. The black should kind of colour up the seams anyway. But yeah. Time to prime. So here's the grey primer done. I just need to leave it to dry now till tomorrow, then I could carry on with the black coat. So that is the black matte paint applied and almost dry. It's turned out pretty good. Most of the seams have vanished, it's a wee bit hard to see them. There's still some that appear every so often, but it's worked out pretty well, I think. Yeah. That's great. What I did was I gave it a coat of matte black all over. Once that dried a wee bit, I then dusted it slightly with a metallic silver paint. Then went over the top of that with a thin coat of the black paint again. Then I did it again, I repeated it again, so I did it another silver coat, light silver coat, then another coat of black. It just gives it a wee bit of texture, and also gives a slight metallic shine to it. It's a wee bit hard to see on camera, but to the eye it actually looks slightly metallic. You kind of see it here on the trigger guard. But yeah, I'm happy how this is turning out so far. So next up, a wee bit of weathering. So what I'm going to do for the weathering is just do a subtle worn look to it. So I'm literally just going to touch up some of the edge lines with some silver paint. I'm going to use a dry brushing technique for this. Fortunately, the only acrylic silver paint I've got is a marker, so I am having to put on a bit of paper. Then I take my brush, get some of the paint on my brush, then you rub most of it off, and you just go on to some of the edges. So as I said, I am just doing a subtle worn effect to the blaster. Probably won't show up too much on camera, but I'm literally just doing bits that should be worn looking, where the paint has rubbed away to the metal underneath. Like the triggers. So kind of hard to see because of the reflection on it, but yeah, it's got to be a subtle effect, but it should sell it as a real looking weapon. Yeah, I will just carry on with this. So the idea with this technique is to just highlight the edges where it should be worn away, where the paint should be worn away to the metal underneath. It's a very subtle technique, but it works amazingly well, especially on something black like this. Tiniest little bit of paint just brings out the detail. Just like that. Again, I'm trying to be quite subtle with this, and we're just getting wee bits that would naturally rub against things. If there's bits that you want to add more to, you can do. But this is all about subtly. Ooh, move the camera there. Now it's going to fall. And this bit should just pop once I do this. Just a little bit. Just like that. So there we go. I've given the blaster a once over both sides, as you can see. It's a very subtle effect, but it just highlights some of the parts that would get worn naturally from use. It just gives a wee bit extra detail to the prop. Now, just forgive my rubbish cardboard stand. I just needed something to put it on, and this was lying around. So once the silver paint was dry, I gave it a clear coat of matte varnish just to seal the whole blaster in. This gave it quite a good uniform finish as well. I'm really happy how this is going. You can see some of the dry brushing just highlighting in the light. Yeah, so I've got one more thing to do. These grips on either side and this wee bit, they should be a gloss finish instead of a matte finish. So I need to mask these off, give it a coat of gloss varnish, and I would call that done. Then I could get rid of this wire at the end, which is bugging me. But very helpful for painting. So on to masking up. So for the masking, I'm just going to be using normal masking tape. I've got some thinner masking tape as well, just to try and get around the wee corners of around the grip and some of these wee trickier spaces, just like up here. Then I'll use the bigger, thicker masking tape as well. Then I'll use some scrap paper to cover the rest of it, because I don't want to waste masking tape. Yeah, so let's do it. So one wee trick that I learned years ago, sometimes masking tape is too sticky and it will take the paint off the stuff, the props and things like that. So the wee trick I was told was stick it to your top or your trousers for a wee second. It just gets rid of some of the tackiness, makes it less sticky, and it means it won't peel the paint off. Yeah, there's a wee tip. So a lot of time masking is a right pain in the... That's why I've done most of this off camera. But yeah, a lot of these radiuses are a wee bit hard to do. But if you make sure you do a good job with the masking, it gives a better result in the end. Yeah, so I am now ready to spray. So there it is unmasked. It looks perfect for a Rebel Princess. So there you go guys, that's the blaster repainted. We've got one happy Rebel Princess ready to collect so she could go out and shoot some stormtroopers. But in all seriousness, I love how this has turned out. I've got a pretty decent replica of Leia's blaster at the fraction of the cost, and it looks brilliant. And it's got to look brilliant in the room as well. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you next time on the Rebel Workshop.